Hello guys, and welcome to my review of the Drumtec Diabolo Series E-Kit. So, throughout the years of having my YouTube channel, I've had many questions about my drum kit, and I thought it was time to make a little video about it, because I've promised it a million times to people, and here I am finally making it. So I bought this kit in 2017, not quite the beginning, so it's almost 6 years old, I would say. And I have nothing but good things to say about Drumtec. The kit has held up amazingly. I've had pretty much zero issues with it. All the drums are made by Drumtec, so it's not, I guess now it's more conventional than it was back in 2017, having electronic drums that actually are like, have real shells. Back then, not a lot of companies were doing it. The Alesis Strike wasn't even out then. I think it was announced, and I was kind of maybe waiting for the Alesis Strike, but then I just ended up going with Drumtec, and I have zero regrets. So it's wooden drum shell, and then mesh head, and then here I have a little light here, so you can actually see the trigger system inside. Works great. It's pretty much, you take it out of the box and it just works. I think the sizes are 12, 10, 10, 12, and then 18 on the bass drum, I believe. And then the module is a Roland TD11, which was the standard module that came with the Diabolo kit back in 2017. I think now you get a TD17, I believe, which is a massive upgrade, and I don't think the price has shifted that much. And you also now get the VH11, which I have actually, but I bought that separately after the fact, because if you look back in my old videos, the original hi-hat was the CY5, and with like the, you know, separate pedal. Now it's an actual hi-hat stand. That one had the separate like hi-hat pedal, which was fine, but this just feels like way better, and I don't know, it just feels way better. Yeah, the cymbals are all Roland except for this one. This is from my old Alesis kit. I think it was Alesis DM6 kit. It was fine for the price. Obviously, it wasn't that expensive, but it's crappy compared to this. Yeah, like I said, I've had zero issues with it. The only thing that broke is the kick pad. As you can see, it's kind of like a little mess. That's from the glue, I think, from the old patch that was on there. This cable's kind of in the way. But the only reason that thing broke is because for the longest time I used, well, first now I'm playing eliminators again. I used to have eliminators, and then I switched to Axis for a while. The beaters I used on the Axis was the eliminator beater or the Iron Cobra beater, but for like a week or two max, I used the Sonic Hammer beaters. If anyone's familiar with Axis, which if you follow my channel you probably are, you know that the Sonic Hammer is extremely heavy, and the Sonic Hammer beater is responsible for this thing being smushed and for the patch falling off. If I just used these or the Iron Cobra beaters, that patch would have been fine, and you know, it's just a patch, so I should really order another one. Yeah, like I said, I've had zero complaints about the kit. Obviously, the main question I keep getting is how do I have a TD11 and have all of these extra cymbal pads? So, many of you probably know, but for those who don't, it's because of drum splitters. And what a drum splitter is you basically, all of these have two trigger signals, I think. It's the head, and then they have a rim trigger. And you can split those. And since I play death metal most of the time, I don't really need the rims of these toms. So I split them, and so the trigger of the rim is going to one of the extra cymbals. And so actually I'll get one of the splitters. So this is what it looks like. So this is the original like cable, the T3, the floor tom. And you put it in the splitter cable, and then you have the rim trigger and the main head trigger. And it actually says it on there. I don't know if you can read that, head and rim. And yeah, you just, the head one, you plug back into the original, like the T3, the floor tom pad. And then the rim trigger you can assign to, you know, it's this one or that one, I can't remember. But yeah, that's what I did with all the toms. So I have an extra China, an extra splash, an extra crash, although that might be standard, I can't remember exactly. And then an extra, no, probably the crash is standard. And then the, yeah, extra China. So it's the 2 Chinas and then 1 extra splash cymbal. And it's great because that is the setup, the cymbal setup of my acoustic kit as well. So as to make the transition from playing on this kit to my acoustic kit so smoothly as possible. And it actually works pretty great. For a while I didn't play in any bands anymore. Now I do again. But so for a while I hadn't played my acoustic kit in ages. And you know, it's still, if you haven't played your acoustic kit in ages and you just play this, there's always a bit of adjusting. You know, it's not the same sizes. The mesh heads don't feel exactly the same. The rubber cymbals certainly don't feel the same. You know, it's still a bit different. Let me just push this back. But all in all, if like now I have rehearsals, band rehearsals again on, you know, fairly regular basis, like once every 2 weeks or something. And the rest of the time I just play on this. And, you know, it works out pretty good. If you get like back in the groove of playing your acoustic kit semi-regularly, then, you know, it's absolutely, you know, having this, if you don't have the option to play your acoustic drums at home, which I don't have, then this is an amazing alternative. I've pretty much played it every single day for the past 6 years, and nothing really ever went wrong. So like I said, I have nothing but good things to say about it. Let me hit some of the drums so you can actually hear how loud this thing is. So yeah, it's obviously not whisper quiet, but it's fairly quiet. The big thing I've had, because I've had this in several different apartments and rooms in houses, and the biggest issue with the sound will, and with any electronic drum kit, will be the bass drum, and not the actual like hitting of the pad. It's more the vibration of your foot hitting the pedal and that going downwards. So now it's actually on floor leveled. So I just have a rug underneath. But where I used to live, it was upstairs, and I did invest some money in, you know, fixing that sound issue, because for the people downstairs it was actually quite loud. And what I did is I went to a hardware store and had some wooden, like, thick sheets that I could use as a platform, and then I had this kind of acoustic foam, and then I think I made 2 layers, like foam, wood. Maybe at the end I just had 1 layer. Can't remember. Maybe 1 layer should kind of work, but at a certain point I definitely had 2, just like to be sure. And I even went all out and bought Roland noise eaters, which, if you don't know what that is, it's these kind of pads that you put under the bass drum, the pedals, to, you know, to spare the vibration, the shock. So Roland actually, like, is aware of that is the biggest noise issue for electronic drums, the bass drum, and they made kind of pads. they work really well, but as with everything Roland, it's fairly expensive. So yeah, but you know, so it is somewhat of an investment. But I will say, I had, because downstairs it was just like it was where I used to live. It was a house, so downstairs was actually still mine. But you know, from like ex-girlfriends that I lived with, they can attest that it was like, without the things it was kind of loud, and with the things it was much better. And then next to me I had neighbors. It was like the house was attached to the neighbor's house, and I lived there for 3 years, and I had zero complaints about noise. I'm not even aware if they knew that I played drums. And sometimes I even played drums at like 10 o'clock at night. No issue. So I think, you know, it's if you're stuck in that scenario and you're looking for like a really good solution, doing with the wooden things and then the acoustic foam and then the noise eaters, it worked well for me. And, you know, especially maybe if you play more like rock music, you can get away with less. But if you play death metal and you hit the bass drum a million times per song, it's, I would say, definitely worth it to invest a bit of money in that. Yeah, that's pretty much it. These are the headphones I use, and I use for like on rehearsal as well. They're the Direct Sound, I think. Who plays? George Colias plays with these, and that's where I picked them up originally from. Extreme Isolation headphones, that's what they're called. I used to have the old ones that looked a bit different, and these are the new ones. They're great. They're great for this kit as well, because they like isolate still. I think you can get away with using normal headphones, but then you kind of hear the pads more, so you might have to crank up the volume on the module more. But these work great because you don't have to crank it up as much, so it saves your ears, which as drummers is always welcome. Oh, and then yeah, of course, one big thing is I don't use the Roland sounds. I use Superior Drummer 3 sounds. My iMac is usually here, which I have to take always if I do a cover or a song or something. And yeah, it's running. I used to have Drumkit from Hell, and now it's a combination of Superior Drummer and Drumkit from Hell samples. And then the kick drum sample is a couple of those samples, 1 or 2, and then also the main one you hear for the kick is a sample I found somewhere on an old Facebook forum of Dan Preslin's kick sample from back when he was in Navel of Iscaris. Yeah, and the rest is all samples from the VSTs that I use. What else? The bass drum, the sticks I use are the Vigford 5B with the nylon tip, because it saves the mesh heads. If the wooden tip gets busted, it can rip open the mesh head. And then yeah, the pedals I use are, like I said, eliminators. I used to have Axis. The reason I quit Axis is because everything broke from Axis. And yeah, I had a million parts come over from ACD, from Dennis. If you don't know what ACD is, you should look it up, ACD drum pedals. They make a lot of spare parts for different pedals. And it was much cheaper to, you know, because Dennis is from Austria in Europe and I'm from Belgium. So it's much cheaper than to have, spare Axis parts are, 1, more expensive, and 2, you have to pay taxes. And I've heard bad things about Axis client customer service online. So yeah, but and I've heard a bunch of people complain about Axis things, and you know, a lot of things broke. The heel plates were the first thing to go. The you know, where you adjust the beater angle, that broke as well. I had to get spare parts. Luckily that ACD makes these parts. And then the final straw was the drive shaft not working properly. The left pedal was like clicking all the time and felt like way heavier. And I tried to fix it. Didn't found a proper solution. And in the end I was just like, this is getting out of control. You pay €1,000 for a drum pedal that breaks all the time, and then you have to get spare parts. It's absolutely ridiculous. And, you know, I got a cheap old pair of, which I have had the exact same pair, except I used to have belt drive. These are now chain drive, which actually, like, it's been a while since I've played the belt drive, but I cannot really tell that much of a difference. And they were great. My singles are just as fast as on the Axis. The only thing that's kind of taken a hit is the double strokes. I could still kind of do them, but maybe not like a crazy high tempos. But I think that's, I don't know, might be due to the direct drive or maybe just the long footboard, because I do have a fairly big shoe size. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. I would highly recommend, if you're looking into getting a e-kit, to check out Drumkit. They make great stuff, and you can like choose the module you want with the kit, and you know, it's very versatile in that way. So yeah, that's it. See you next time.